turn them off. You know, we should start saying we're going to start at 10:50. I know. Well, I would like that, but you weren't even here at 11. You were close. I'm going to have to. I'm just going to have to. A gong would be good. What? You've seen Grease, right? Ride El High. Doom, 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 doom. Oh. Yeah. All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started. Looks like a couple of folks are still filtering in. So, great to be here. Nice warm day. We're going to talk in our interim leadership meeting later today about shaking hands and welcoming each other. Now, we really didn't do it during the service this morning, but as I was talking to Pastor Mike as he was going out, I mean, everybody shook Pastor Mike's hand as he went out. So somewhere there's it doesn't make sense to shake everybody's hand on the way out, but we can't say and shake and good morning during service. So more than likely, we're going to talk about resurrecting that for our service next week. The hello, nice to meet you, how are you, stick your elbow out or something along those lines. And really what I'm doing right now is I'm still killing time for people to come in. So, okay, even by Grace standards, you're late now. All right. Well, everybody, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. As we had discussed, we want to give you an update on a monthly basis, and this is the last Sunday of the month, so this is your monthly interim leadership team update, IPM update, and then where we're at. So if you happen to have the handout at the door, you can take a look through that, and I'll talk through it in a second. Two things I want to make sure we bring up real quick. Ken Ruitt's class will still be happening over here, room 2, or as we used to know it, the joy room, or the piano room, or whatever room you'd like to use in this name, the choir room. Only Pastor Eddie's class will be in the back with both men and women in the discipleship. So there's still 2 classes that are happening. Second, in my excitement this morning of having such great weather, I completely missed to make an announcement about the Women of Grace and the mentoring opportunity that they have. So what's going on is women have to have the opportunity to sign up to be part of a new mentorship program. They need mentors and mentorees. So there's a table out there that's got a sign-up sheet, got lots of information on it. They're needing those no later than 12 o'clock, Sunday, March 6th. So you got a week to do it. And it's got some other information in there. If you have any questions, I'm pretty sure somebody will be at the table to ask or just talk with Suzanne. All right. So moving on, let's talk about what we've talked about in our interim leadership team over the last month. Now, it should be a pretty quick update, obviously, because we haven't had a whole lot happen. The storm last week kind of canceled a lot of information for everybody, though we did get together the leadership team through technology. As you review some of the minutes, dates and up top and such, you can see there's a couple things that we're going to talk about in a moment, and that has to do with the committee members for the nomination committee. So we have a nominating committee that we're going to be discussing the nominatees with the congregation about. It's funny, we can't nominate somebody until we have them on the nominating committee to nominate them. I know. Let's talk about emergency communications. Last Sunday was a blizzard. We had it communicated that if there's a blizzard, there's no church. We did discuss, well, maybe we can just have an online streaming service. We'll put a couple people in. But then the thought was, well, if the doors are open, then we're really not closed. People may try to come in. And then again, it's good in town, but it's bad in the country. We went back to what a blizzard warning is, and that is no travel advised, period. And last Sunday's blizzard was really one of those times that we all looked out the window the Sunday morning. We're like, yeah, that probably was a good call not to have church. So we'll just continue that and say that if there is a blizzard warning, there will be no church. If we wake up in the morning and the blizzard warning has been canceled, church will be happening. Again, it's all up to your safety to get here. If you choose to stay at home and church is happening, we will be streaming it on live. Second to that, we're also working on getting some software in place where we'll be able to plug in phone numbers that want to get a text message of church or no church. And that will hopefully help those that may not be on Facebook, may not necessarily have the TV channels, and it's not getting the information out to them. One of the things we're trying to alleviate is call the church, are we having church today? So the standard right now is if there's a blizzard warning, no church. If there's not a blizzard warning, if there's a travel advisory, church will be open. The only condition is blizzard. Any questions? Blizzard warning, no church. Okay. We had a couple people show up to church last week, so just wanted to make sure of that, okay? We had some events that have already happened. We did the Valentine's Day. We've got some future things coming up with the Easter Palm Sunday. There's just a lot of information that we've discussed as the interim leadership team in here. So as you take a look through here, do you have any questions that are coming to mind about what we've discussed that you would like to get a little bit more information on? We've talked about what our potential budget process will be, but to get the budget in place, we need a nominating committee. So again, we've got those steps in place that we have to do beforehand. We're trying to make sure that as an interim team, we are not making decisions without thinking very, very carefully on what that looks like. Why do we still have the bus? We're not using it. That's something that we need to talk about, but a snap decision is not where we want to go. Well, who's doing da-da-da-da-da? Why did this table get moved? How come this is happening? All of these things are getting talked about, and some of the ideas that are happening really are just good ideas. For example, I think I'd mentioned this before, the Welcome Center out there no longer has the big tank, but we've got the little light amphibious vehicle, I can't talk. The light amphibious vehicle up there, so it's a little bit smaller, a little bit more welcoming when people are coming in. That was a suggestion, thought it was a good idea moving forward. I'm saying that to say, if you've got something that you think is a great idea and you don't know where to go, write it on a piece of paper, drop it in the dream box. Those are now being posted in our weekly newsletter, as are the interim team's leadership updates for the week. As well as anything else that may be pertinent. We're trying to make sure that that newsletter that gets out to you is got all of that information packed too. Anybody in here not have an email address? No, Bill, you have an email address. I've seen it. Okay, just a sec. Just one. So here's what I would recommend. If you don't get the newsletter to your email, see one of us to get the newsletter delivered to your email on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I think it comes out, when is it, on Wednesday? Tuesdays? Okay. That is what we're using, is all of those different medias to get information out to everybody. And that opens it up to Bill. What did you have as a question, sir? Okay. See me after. All right. I get to pick on Bill a lot. He's a good sport about a lot of it. With that, any other questions for me about the interim leadership team update that I can pass on, talk about, chat, answer? Show of hands, do you find this helpful? That would be raise your hand if you do. Okay. I don't want to put paper together and such if it's not helpful, nor do any of us. And, Pastor Mike loves printing things. No, I'm sorry, he does not. He does not like to print things. All right, with that, I'll pass it over to Sean for our next update.
All right. On the table next to the update, there was a one-page paper that talked about the nominating committee. And I just wanted to walk through that with you all and answer any questions, if there are any questions regarding the nominating committee and the purpose of what and the role of that nominating committee in the church. So the purpose is to conduct ongoing work as necessary to maintain a full complement of church officers, members on the Council of Elders, and standing committees. Those standing committees are only the committees that are referred to in the church constitution, like a finance committee, like a missions committee. And there's just a few of those. It's not every single, it's not the men's ministry, it's not the women's ministry, it's not at the very lower levels like a youth ministry team level. It's at the level of committees that are called out in the in the Constitution. The structure will consist of 6 members when it's completely populated. I know that the update that we provided and the names that we provided was only 5, but in the future, as this is up and running, it will be fully populated by 6 members. 3 of them will be from among the Council of Elders, and that is directly out of the Constitution, and 3 members will come from the diaconate. So that is the future. In the interim, what we've put together is a 5-member team. 2 of those members are coming from the interim leadership team, and 3 members are coming from the church body at large, so that we could move forward representing the church as best as we possibly could. The responsibilities then are outlined on this document to candidate review or interview and nominate to the church membership elders, deacons, and standing committee members. Create and maintain a file of the spiritual gifts, abilities of all members of the church. And what we're going to do, and hopefully all of you have taken that and talked to Mike, what we are using those documents for is to see where you are gifted as a member of this church. And as we begin to try to fill positions at these levels, we're looking at your spiritual gifts along with some other qualifications to kind of, and your desires, to kind of put together the right person for the job, so that we don't want to put a square person in a round job or vice versa. So we want to try to be very effective in using those assessments that you have done and your desires to put you in a position that's going to benefit the church and you're going to enjoy and want to be a part of. Because we realize when we try to put you in something that you're not really interested in, you may not do your best job, or maybe even be able to make all the meetings and things of that nature. This team will also be responsible for contacting new members of the church to administer the spiritual gifts test. We see that as a critical and vital role of us as we bring on new members to understand where their gifts are. And it's going to be our desire to incorporate new members into serving within the body of the church. All of us should be serving in some capacity in the body of the church, and we're going to encourage that through new membership as well. I don't want to necessarily read every single one of these. We see the time commitment for this group will kind of vary, but we're thinking about 2 to 3 meetings per month. But obviously, when there's a vacancy, we're going to meet to fill that vacancy and work hard to filling that vacancy, or at least bringing a nomination to the body for you to vote on to fill that position. So that may mean there will be months where we don't meet very often, and then there may be months that we meet more than 2 to 3 times a month. We're looking at the qualifications of who could be on the nominating committee, and those are members of Grace Baptist Church. We are looking at people that have strong interpersonal and communication skills. We looked at discernment, administration, and wisdom. As we try to fill these positions, we want people that we're going to bring to the table those kinds of spiritual gifts, so that it will make we will be able to provide the best candidate to the church for your approval to move into those positions. So with that, I think in the newsletter update as well as in the bulletin insert, you saw the 5 members that we are nominating for the nominating committee. That is Nate Anderson, Tom McNaughton, Nell Mertz, myself, and Peggy Zavarol. So are there any questions about anything that we covered, anything that you want to talk about? I'd love to entertain those right now. All righty. Well, without further ado, then I'll invite Mike up and let him do his IPM update.
Okay, we are at a kind of a good juncture for your church. As you can see, we're right at the place to where we're going to start populating your standing committees again. So to do that, we need you to be very prayerful and judicious about voting on those people. So the first step of that, of course, was done by the transition team. They, along with the ILT, put together some candidates for that so that they could be approved by the church at next week's quarterly business meeting. And as they begin to put names forward, then those will be made known to all of you so that you can prayerfully consider them for the different positions that they'll be nominated for. So one of the questions I had, are we going to start getting elders and deacons? And yes, you can start nominating people for that. If you have somebody in mind that you would like for a particular job, certainly see Sean or anybody else on the committee and talk to them. They would love that. Also, we don't have to have, a completely full elder board and completely full deacon board right now. If we just get, say, 2 or 3, that'll get us started. The reason that I'm okay with that is because, first of all, where we're at on the leadership training, we meet every Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, and there's about between 17 and 19 guys in there for that leadership training. Now, that is a great pool of people to pull from for some of the leadership positions within the church. So the people who are taking the training will be put in the newsletter starting after the meeting next Sunday so that you'll know who some of those people are. But basically, these are all people that you guys told me you thought were leaders in the church. So I invited them all to the leadership training, and all but just a few of them accepted, which was nice. And we're having a really good time. It's going well. We're almost done with the first book of 3. We're getting ready to go to book 2. And the good thing is nobody's head's exploded yet. So it all seems to be working well. Now, the other juncture that you're at is in the transition team. They have taken those 3 things that they wanted to work on, which is structure, evangelism, and leadership. Now, obviously, in leadership, they've already made some steps. We started teaching the class and different things that way. So that was already starting to come into being. But there's more to do. So with their work, they're now at the place to where they're ready to start putting action steps to their ideas. They've done a great job. They've gotten the big picture, the big structure, brought it down into what needs to really happen, and now it's to the point where you just start taking action steps to implement those things. So the implementation of them is very illustrative, like with the nominating committee. So even though you don't have the boards to populate that committee, you can make kind of an ad hoc committee that you guys will approve of, like you did with the interim leadership team, and that will enable that process to go forward and start populating the different standing committees of your church. So that helps your structure. Now, they're also looking at all of like job descriptions and HR documents and standard operating procedures. You see that with, calling off church and stuff. They want to come up with standardized ways of handling those things. So that's all on the table now. So as they meet tonight, they're going to start that process. So pray for them, because as they begin to implement those things, some of those things will have to come back to you as a church to be implemented, okay? Like one of the things that they're going to proffer to you is like a leadership council, which is going to be populated by the lead person of each of the boards, those 5 standing boards, as well as the different ministries in the church, and they'll all sit together in one table. Now that's going to facilitate communication really well and help your church to run more effectively, but that's going to take a constitutional amendment. So that will be discussed for the annual meeting for you guys to approve that or not. So that's upcoming. Okay. There'll be a few other things that'll come to you, so as they get rolled out, you'll know all about it, and that will help you. At this point, we are done with stages 1 and 2. I have written the assessment, which finishes stage 2. That's not been published to you guys yet. My coaches are going over it and yelling at me. So it'll come in a better form to you than what I actually wrote, but it'll look better. Anyhow, you'll be getting that. That's just an analysis of what I did through my interviews, the different tools we used, what we came up with, and how we decided to move forward. It gives you the rationale for all that stuff. And that'll be in a printed form. I hate to say that. I would much rather it be an email that goes to you and you can print if you want it printed. But we'll see. Brenda's head explodes when I do some of that stuff, so it's just okay. All right. The last thing is that as we implement these things, that moves us into what is known as a strategic plan for an outreach to the church, and it's kind of the final thing that the transition team does. As they work on those 3 things and they kind of get those in order, the last thing they'll do is a strategic plan for meeting a need out in the community. Now, I'll advise on that because I've done some work in seeing what the felt needs of the community are. I'll proffer several of those things to the transition team. They'll pick one of those and then they'll implement a plan to start it up, whatever that looks like, okay? That'll be the last thing they do, and then is step 5, which you know to be pastor search, okay? So when they're done with that, you'll know pastor search is ready to start, all right? That usually takes 6 months. So be praying now for the pastor that God has for your church, because he's out there, he's looking, okay? His family's getting ready, and you guys need to get ready for him, okay? So start praying, all right, and don't stop. All right, questions? Okay, are you a visitor? Couldn't help myself. It should be. It's not. We'll work on that. Okay, so yeah, I understand what you're saying. So we will work on that. Yeah, we will work on that so that it is better organized. Okay. Yes, she asked about the potluck for the quarterly business meeting, and was that broken down into, I guess, main dishes and desserts? And salads, thank you. So if that's not done that way, we will do that, and it'll be according to the letter of your last name. Except for those of you that start with X, and then you're just X'd out. I get told that a lot. I just say, try the veal. I'll be here all week, Okay, anything else? Yes?
So I'm not very familiar with the whole structure of deacons and all these boards and committees and stuff.
Yes.
So could you just say an overview of how it all works?
Yes. So his question is, how does the structure of elders and deacons work within the church? So it's known as church polity, or that's just how they govern themselves. And this church historically was set up in a Baptist mode, which had the pastor as the elder, and then there was a deacon board, and then a trustee board. So they decided several years ago to go to an elder board and a diaconate board and no longer have trustees. So what that did is the elders are spiritual people who keep the church on track for its mission. So it's supposed to be reaching out to people with the gospel, discipling people, that sort of thing, outreach into the community. So they keep the church on track for that. So they're watching, is the preaching going that way? Is, the different committees, are they doing that? Is the different ministries doing that? So they're trying to watch all that. What they don't get involved in is kind of the day-to-day working administration of the church. Generally, you have the hired staff kind of watching over that, like the secretary, the pastor, the children's minister. They're kind of doing the administrative stuff day-to-day. The diaconate board is a serving ministry, so they'll take things that the elder board does not want to get involved in, and they'll delegate that to them to take over. It's also a helping ministry where if somebody is maybe in need of some help with their rent or things like that, they help with those things. It's broad, they can get involved in a lot of different things. But that's kind of how, generally speaking, they work, and they both work together to help run the church. Okay, so that's kind of how that structure is, right? And this is a congregationally run church, so the ultimate decision is always back to the church voting on it at a business meeting. Okay, they're giving those two groups some authority to do some things, but generally they watch over all that and vote on it. Okay? Anybody else? Exciting stuff. Okay, that's it? All right, head to Sunday school, and you'll have a little bit of time. I'll take the discipleship people